Welcome to Wanderlust and Wishes, the podcast where we explore the world one destination at a time.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Crystal.
As travel agents with Fantastical Vacations, we are here to share our passion for travel and help you turn your wanderlust into reality.
From hidden gems to bucket list adventures, join us as we dive into the sights, sounds, and stories of our favorite destinations.
So grab your passport, pack your bags, and let's embark on this journey together.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 110 of Wanderlust and Wishes. Today, we're going to talk about Disney or Disney World versus Universal Orlando in 2026. A lot of things have changed, so we wanted to kind of bring this topic back up, just do kind of a showdown of who does what better.
We recorded a similar episode last spring, maybe, so it's been over a year, but a lot has changed since we recorded that, and Epic has opened, and we've updated Lightning Lanes and Genie Plus and all the things, so this should be fun.
Yeah, we may have some different answers this time around. Okay, first topic, just overall atmosphere and immersion. Disney tends to have the emotional connection and nostalgia. They have a lot of the iconic music, like Happily Ever After, and just have iconic music that's like pumped through the parks. They have Main Street World Showcase, which is a huge pull for adults. The Avatar, Pandora area, Galaxy's Edge for our Star Wars fans. But then on the flip side, Universal, especially adding Epic Universe, has added this kind of cutting edge immersive environment in place. With Dark Universe, they have the new Ministry of Magic area, Super Nintendo World. That park has more of a true step into the story experience than the other two parks have. Even though I do think that they do have some of that with the Harry Potter areas, but this kind of takes it to a different level.
Yeah, I think a year ago I would have said Disney hands down, but now you add an Epic and it changes things so dramatically. So which destination immediately makes you feel like you're somewhere special?
That's Disney for me.
Yeah, that nostalgia pull.
Yeah.
And we're gonna say that a lot because that does influence my decision. I know it influences your decision a little bit.
It does. Yeah. And, our next kind of discussion point is, does nostalgia matter when you're talking about it? And absolutely. Just like Crystal said, we both have that emotional tie and nostalgia with Disney, and it makes a difference. I think I may have mentioned it. It might have been in our On the Go when we were at Disney World last week or 2 weeks ago. I was asking Sophia about the race Speedway. I was asking her about the Speedway, and she was like, that was really like kind of lame, but Ella loves it because it's a nostalgia point for her. And even though the cars are old and they need to be updated, we always do that ride because of that. So that's a huge tie. What about the physical immersion?
I think Disney kind of set the bar on this, and then Universal's kind of followed suit with Epic. Because if you just do like the OG parks versus like Magic Kingdom, it's like, there's not really as much. But then you get into like Hollywood Studios and you have Galaxy's Edge and you have the bigger than life Toy Story. And then you go over to Epic and they've done the same thing with Super Nintendo. I guess it depends on which park you're comparing. Like as a whole, Disney just has more of it because they've been doing it for longer. But Epic really stepped up the bar for Universal.
Agree. I still feel like you said, I kind of agree that at this point, if you're looking at the parks overall and as a sum, Disney does it better. But there are pockets of Universal where they do a really good job with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and then the new, just pretty much everything with Epic Universe.
Next question is, which destination has the better park lineup? So at Disney, you have Magic Kingdom, you have Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom. We could throw in, we have 2 water parks and the Bubble. And then at Universal, you have Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, Epic Universe, Volcano Bay.
I think if you're going to, I'm going to kind of break this up a little bit. If you're talking about the parks, like the main theme parks, comparing, I'm going to say Disney World. But if you compare the water parks, the two water parks at Disney to Volcano Bay, I think Volcano Bay does a better job, has a better lineup overall than the two Disney water parks.
Well, and it's interesting too, because if you were to ask based on like who's going, ages of your kids, or what their interests are, your answer could totally change.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I love, like, I grew up on Disney, so I'm going to lean Disney. But for Calder, my son, he loves Nintendo. He loves superheroes and Marvel. I think he would love Universal and would pick Universal. So it's so hard because I'm pulling from the nostalgia part of me.
Yeah, and that's a really good point though in general, like if you take like a 13, 14, 15-year-old that's never been to either one, which one is going to have the bigger draw? And I think that's probably going to be Universal because I think it has a bigger draw for most teenagers if they don't have that nostalgia pull, or maybe if they don't have that pull of a specific IP. Because, if you have a teenager that like they've grown up on Disney, they've just never been to Disney World or Disneyland, then that might be a little bit different. But I think if you're trying to like do like apples to apples and take and kind of strip out all of the IP preferences or anything like that, I think that Universal would be the park that they would want to go to. But if you're talking about me specifically, I definitely like what is available at Disney, and probably 90% of the time. There may be instances where I would be different. For my 90% of the time, I'm going to choose Disney and what they have to offer more than Universal.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention any of the Harry Potter. And I know that that's a big draw.
It is. It is. I mean, I have clients going in October that is specifically the reason they're going is for the Harry Potter pieces. And we talked about previously that if you have people that have never been to Universal and they're very interested in Harry Potter, going to those two OG parks first, if they only have, only so many days, then that's what you should do. That's basically what they're doing because of the lineup that's there. I think if you're going to talk about the place that can keep guests engaged for a longer vacation and has more variety across the board, I feel like Disney probably has more options because they have mini golf courses. They have lots of things to do at Fort Wilderness. They have lots of things to do, like all kinds of stuff that can keep you going. That's at a resort, but it still has kind of some other things that Universal doesn't throw in that kind of extra stuff that outside of the parks, really.
I would have to agree with that. I know we'll talk about it later, but like Disney Springs versus City Walk, we've done a whole episode on things to do on a rest day Disney, and every resort has something special. And then you say there's 30 resorts that you can go explore. I just feel like you could go spend 2 weeks in the Disney bubble and not see everything and be entertained as long as you would like to be. And I don't feel like Universal's quite there yet.
Yeah, agree. And they don't have the bubble. Universal doesn't have the bubble. And they may be in the process of trying to do something like that, but they don't have that yet. Okay, so what about attractions? So we're going to talk about a couple different types of attractions. So rides and attractions. Which park has the best thrill rides? And if you're doing a comparison of like Tron, Guardians, Expedition Everest versus at Universal, Velocicoaster, Hagrid's, Stardust Racers, and Incredible Hulk, what are your thoughts?
I think Universal wins on this one, hands down, especially if you're like into like big thrill rides. Disney, I wouldn't even consider Tron a thrill ride because it's so short and it's not like, I don't know. Like, I love Guardians. Expedition and Everest is fun. But then, like, past that, like, even Harper could ride, like, everything. And you go over to Universal and they're like a classic roller coaster. like that people know and think of when they think of a thrill ride.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Even if you're looking at, I think Rock and Roller Coaster is the only one that even goes upside down. There's a couple that go backwards, but for the most part, like Disney rides are fairly tame. Even their like thrill rides are not. They're not a true thrill ride compared to Universal. So let's talk about family attractions. From a Disney perspective, you have things like Mickey and Minnie's, Remy's, Frozen Ever After, Tiana's, the Safari ride. But then at Universal, you have Mario Kart, Yoshi's Adventure, you have Despicable Me, you have the Cat in the Hat, you have the Troller Coaster area. So which one of these, in your opinion, has better family attractions?
When I think family attraction, just because of my stage of life, I like to think of like an any height ride or something like a small toddler. So maybe it was like the lowest height requirement. And Disney, hands down, wins that category because you can do a full week and feel like you go on so many rides with a baby or a toddler or like a kindergarten age child. Where at Universal, yes, they have a couple in each park, but I feel like it's still pretty lacking. Like they've got to be able to walk or there's just not enough.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't have like the exact numbers or anything. This is off the top of my head. So don't come at me if I'm wrong about this, but I feel like at Disney, there's like a handful of rides that you have to be like 48 inches. And then at Universal, it's probably like a majority or like over 50% of them, of the like bigger headliners, you have to be like, 45, 48 inches tall to get on them.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on to the best overall headliner. So this is going to be the really big rides that pull people into the parks, like Rise of the Resistance, Guardians, Flight of Passage. Of course, we have Hagrid's. We have Battle of the Ministry. We have Velocicoaster. Which one do you feel like is better at that piece?
This is hard because I love Guardians, but I also love Hagrid's. I'm not a huge fan of Rise of the Resistance, but I can respect it and like the immersion of it. Oh, I don't know. Can I say it's a tie? Because I feel like it depends on the day.
I feel like probably Universal wins this one by just a smidge. I agree that it's a very tough one, but if you're looking at the really big headliners, because I think this somewhat ties back to their ability to have more thrill rides that draw more people in to the parks. So for that reason. Okay. So last one on rides and attractions, variety wise, which destination has better ride variety that really can cater to multiple different vacation styles?
I'm going to go with Disney on this one just because I feel like they have a good variety of like water rides and dark rides and slow rides and a little bit in between. Where at Universal, and this is just personal opinion, I feel like it's either a big coaster or a simulated ride.
Yeah, agree. I think it depends on what you consider as a show, but Disney has true, basically like Broadway level shows that they have at each of the parks. And I don't feel like Universal has that so much. So I would agree with you that Disney caters better to pretty much everybody. Like there's something that somebody can enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. Our next one is queue design. If you had to wait an hour, which park would you rather do it in? So Disney examples, you have like Rise of the Resistance, Flight of Passage, even Na'vi River, because those are ones you tend to wait in a long time. Slinky Dog. Universal examples, Forbidden Journey, Monsters Unchained, Battle with the Ministry, Hagrid's, those ones that are constantly at an hour. Which park would you rather wait in?
Disney, hands down.
Really?
They have, I think they have better queues.
So I was like looking at this list and thinking how boring the rides queue is.
Well, yeah, but I think overall, like the queues overall, if I'm looking at it overall, not those, I guess I wasn't like thinking of those specific rides, but overall, I feel like Disney does a better job at the queue and keeping people entertained than at Universal.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to go with Universal on this one. I just feel like a lot of those long lines at Disney, I agree that they have like a great storytelling aspect to them, but I feel like think about Guardians, for example. You just like go around in a circle for like a half hour if you're in that front little part. But like if you are at Battle of the Ministry for 2 hours, you're like going through like this whole additional story.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I guess that's because it's like that's a newer thing more than, and you do have, although I'm never going to ride the ride again, but Forbidden Journey has like an amazing queue.
That's funny that we're differing on that because a lot of times we usually agree.
Moving on to entertainment and nighttime spectaculars. So for Disney, you have, for like fireworks or nighttime shows, you have Happily Ever After, you have Luminous, you have Fantasmic. You also have shows like Festival of the Lion King, Beauty and the Beast live on stage. You have Big Blue World. And then you also have things like Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, The Voices of Liberty, and then all throughout World Showcase, you have street performers at Epcot. On the Universal side, you have Born Stuntacular, Horror Makeup Show. There's several shows at Epic Universe that they have added in. And then you have some character interactions and street entertainment. They don't really have much of a nighttime show. Sometimes they do the nighttime show at the castle. They'll do projections on the castle.
I'm going to break this down into some additional categories. Disney wins nighttime spectacular, hands down. Disney wins character interactions. Universal wins like street immersion character entertainment. I also think Universal might have the edge on some of the shows because I'm specifically thinking when I went to the show for Halloween Horror Nights, like that was a pure Cirque du Soleil show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
I love Festival of the Lion King and I love some of the ones that Disney does. But I think Universal might have the edge just because of they're more of a production company, like the movies, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not that Disney's not, but I just feel like they have better resources at Universal for that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. I think I would agree with you for the most part. I'm kind of on the fence between the shows, but I also haven't seen the Halloween Horror Nights show. I mean, I've seen like the animal interaction show, but that definitely to me doesn't meet the same bar that the Festival of the Lion King or even like the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. So I think I would be on the fence with that one. But I think overall, like if I'm looking at if you're thinking of it though, could you spend a day at Disney focused mostly on entertainment? And then on the flip side, could you spend a day at Universal focused on mostly entertainment? And let's like remove like any like specialty like holiday stuff or anything else. I feel like you could do that at Disney. I don't know if you could do that at Universal.
Yeah, very true. Disney, like overall, just because they have so many options. Like if you were doing it like all day Epic with their like new Isle of Berk show and their new Harry Potter show and some of the things they have going on over there with like characters in Dark Universe. But
That's true.
whole Disney probably edges out.
Yeah, that's true. I do think that they have made an effort to mix some of those things in more with Epic Universe because, like, we've talked about, they really wanted this to be a step inside the story kind of environment and not just focused on rides and attractions.
Yeah. All right. Next on our list is food and snacks. So starting with like quick service at Disney, we all love Satuli Canteen. You have things like Docking Bay 7, big places like the Connections Eatery. At Universal, Minions Cafe, Three Broomsticks, the Oak and Star Tavern. Like, if we're just comparing quick service, who do you think wins?
I like Disney better, but I think my reasoning for that is more because I feel like I can easily go onto the app and do a mobile order and order something that's gluten-free, and they're just more friendly when it comes to that. And I'm not saying that, like, I think if when you go, especially if you go to, like, it's more for me on the sit down side. If you tell someone at like your server at a Universal restaurant or at a City Walk restaurant, they're very nice and they're very accommodating, but they don't just have it. It's not easily accessible and just ready to use like at Disney World. It's just less stressful for me because I feel like I can more easily find something.
Yeah, that makes sense. Based on just like variety alone, I'm going to give it to Disney. I feel like Universal tends to be more hamburgers, chicken strips, fries. I also don't like that they don't publish their menu.
Right. Drives me bananas.
You can't really like research ahead of time. So, yeah, based on that, I'm going to give it to Disney. Universal's they're trying and they're getting better, especially with Epic. They've added a lot more options, but Disney still wins out.
I do think that Universal is trying to add in mobile ordering to their app because I think they see the benefits of it and how popular it is, Disney World. I don't really know why it's taken them so long, but I think in general, they're trying to just make their app a little bit better overall. And that's a huge part of using the app is being able to do mobile orders.
Okay, now let's take it over to table service. I know how you feel about this one.
I'm going to choose Disney for this one. Although I do love Antojitos specifically. That's at City Walk. It's not actually within the parks. But I think in general, Disney has more table service options inside the parks as well. And then if you look at the resorts on top of it, I just think they have a lot more really great options.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And then you add in like the character dining experiences and just even if you just compare City Walk to Disney Springs,
Oh my gosh, it's no comparison.
there's
Yeah.
no comparison there. And I'd have to agree with like in-park options.
Even like when you were talking about the character dining, like think about how many you have like probably 10, 11, 12 character dining options at Disney World. And you have like one that's the Marvel character interaction at Universal Studios. And then you have like the breakfast with the Grinch at the holidays, but I don't think they have anything outside of
They do
that.
so much more with their character dining.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure some of it, though, obviously they could offer it inside the park, but a lot of the character dining options for Disney World are at the resorts. And Universal, because they don't own their resorts or their hotels, it probably makes that a little bit more difficult also.
Very true. All right, what about snacks?
Overall, I'm going to go with Disney again on this one. But like if you made me choose between like butterbeer and Dole Whip, even though I love Dole Whip, I think I would rather have a butterbeer just because I think I would rather have the drink. I don't know what it is. It's like I would rather have that like refreshing drink than to have the frozen dessert.
I would agree, but I'm going to give Universal props and points for immersive snacks. Like The Simpsons, you can get the donut and the beer and all the different kinds of butterbeer. And I feel like their snacks are they're themed better and immersive, helping with the immersion than Disney's. Like, I love Disney's food. And I could snack my way for an entire year and not ever get tired of it. But they don't do the immersive snacks as well. All right, last one in the food. Festivals and seasonal food. So at Disney, you have the Food and Wine Festival, Festival of the Arts, Flower and Garden, Festival of the Holidays, plus you have specialty things for Mickey's Not So Scary and Very Merry Christmas Party. And then at Universal, you have Mardi Gras and Butterbeer Season and Halloween Horror Nights and their Festival of the Holidays.
I don't think there's any comparison with this one. We joke that like everything has like a snack or a foodie guide at Disney.
Yeah.
Disney, hands down, like they go like almost obnoxiously overboard with the seasonal snacks.
I would agree 110%. Universal, I've had some great snacks over there. I still think about those pickle fry things I had.
Mhm.
But like their Mardi Gras booth situation, I remember you and I walking around and we're just kind of like, what?
Yeah. I mean, it was good, but was underwhelmed, I think, in comparison with the booths that they had available versus what you get when you go to an Epcot festival specifically.
Agreed.
Okay. Our next topic is going to be hotels and resort experience. This is going to be interesting. And we just did an episode on Disney versus Universal as far as like the value. I know for sure last year when we did this, there was no question about which location offered the most value for their resorts and for the experience overall. I know we both said Universal. But now that Epic has been added in to the mix, it has really impacted pricing. And it's really not, you don't get as much value as you used to. And actually, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that you don't get value, but it's more expensive. So you could get a lot more for your money at Universal like a year ago, basically before Epic opened. Now you're paying a lot more for the same similar experience as, I mean, especially if you're just trying to go. Thing is, like, if you don't include Epic Universe, it doesn't matter. You're still paying these like premium prices for the hotels. And so even if you're just trying to do a comparison of how much it would be to stay at a resort with just the OG parks last March when we did this versus now, it's probably like at least 50% more expensive.
We saw with My Family of Five from last week's episode that I can't get anything for under $5,000.
So I think this has kind of surprisingly really turned in the direction of Disney. I think Disney offers more promotions also, more promotions than Universal does. And I think that has a lot to do with like Disney has more control over being able to do the resort and the ticket promotions. Universal really just has control over providing promotional tickets. They have to have an agreement with Lowe's in order to do any kind of promotion with the resort included.
Yeah. So, like, I know that we're going to break it down further. But if you just kind of like Universal wins out on proximity, well, for the most part, until you throw in Terra Luna and those, depending on which proximity we're talking about. And I love that they offer the express passes for the signature, but then now that's not even a real perk if you're going to Epic. I love that it's an hour of early park admission over there as opposed to 30 minutes. But Disney has so many more options, and there's a price point for everybody. And then you have all the additional transportation options available.
That's true. And I do agree with the hour of early park admission, but that's at one park. That's not usually, well, I guess between the OG parks, it's one of the two. And at Disney, it's across the board, even though it's the 30 minutes. It doesn't matter what park you're going to. If you're staying on property, you get in early.
I think Disney has better food options at their resorts.
Oh, for sure.
Getting Universal, a lot of them are like one food thing. And at Disney, especially when you start getting into deluxe, you're getting 3 or 4 sit downs and a quick service. And so, yes, overall, Disney wins. Universal.
Yeah, you didn't have the greatest experience with the kind of what you would consider, I guess, quick service at Terra Luna.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like that was the only option. You couldn't like it wasn't like you could go somewhere else or pick another section of like a food court. That was your one thing that you could go to.
Yeah. So I had a great experience at Dockside, and I love the food court at Cabana.
Yes.
There's like 3 or 4 different options. But how often were you guys all waiting for 45 minutes for your Starbucks?
Oh yeah. And Cabana Bay is one of the only ones that really has kind of a food court. Like a lot of them, like you said, they just have the one thing.
One window or like a pool bar or something. So if we were to break it and just do deluxe versus signature, who do you think would win out there?
I'm gonna pick Disney. I think they do a better job again of that like emotional connection and nostalgia at their resorts. Like, and I think the signature resorts at Universal are amazing. Like, they're beautiful. I love, my favorite for sure is Royal Pacific. It was absolutely gorgeous. The rooms were gorgeous. The resort or the hotel was gorgeous. I love the theming, but I feel like those resorts have more of a like sterile feel. I don't know if the best way to say it. Than when you walk into, at least in my experience, like when you walk into a Disney resort lobby, it's like everybody's there to greet you. And, like you go into Polynesian and they give you a lei, and somebody's like immediately like, how can I help you? I think, and I know we're talking about deluxe, but like, I feel like Cabana Bay did a better job of like feeling more like warm and immersive than the deluxe resorts do at Universal. And I think this is probably the same thing with like Surfside and Dockside. I think they just have like a more, I don't know, like family feel. They don't feel like you have to be. I feel like when you walk into Portofino Bay, like into the main lobby or like Royal Pacific, that you have to be quiet. I mean, obviously Hard Rock's different because that's a different like vibe, but I don't get that feel. And I personally have not been to Helios, but I think that theme park view looks freaking amazing.
Yeah, that theme park view.
So I want to give props to that.
And I love that you can walk right into the park, but unless you're staying there, you can't freaking get in there. And the whole situation where you have to like go to City Walk and ride a bus back if you're right there is so absurd.
Yeah, that is a little ridiculous.
And the whole parking situation there right now, and maybe it's just because it's new, but it's so stupid expensive still. So aside from the added express pass, the 3 or the OG, there's a lot left to be desired. And then that moves us into who is most immersive. And I think this is probably where you're trying to get at, is Disney wins with the immersion.
Yeah.
And not that there's not cool stories and like deep tall tales for all of the Universal hotels. There are, but it's not to that Disney storytelling level.
Agree. I am staying in October. I'm staying at Royal Pacific in a club level room with a couple of other agents when we do the fam trip. So I may change my mind. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
If you throw a club level in there, Universal probably wins because it's cheaper and more attainable, and they offer a little bit more.
Yeah, and of course we'll get that unlimited express pass. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. We kind of talked about this already a little bit, but like the hotel perks with staying on property for Disney versus Universal.
This one's hard because it just kind of depends on what you want out of your trip. There are great perks, but then they also have some drawbacks.
Yeah, I think each of them have their pros and cons. I think they're pretty equal. Like, I think there's some, for Universal that outweigh Disney, but then vice versa. I agree. I think that one's kind of a tie, in my opinion. Okay, so next we're going to talk about transportation and just the ease of getting around during your vacation. For Disney, you have the multiple types of transportation. So you have the bus, the monorail, Skyliner, boats, and then you also have the option to do a minivan, even though that's extra cost, but you have that. You can do that. And it does and each of those basically like take you right up to the park. Some of the cons to Disney is it is 40 plus square miles. It's humongous, and you do need to plan and make sure that you build in time to get between the parks when you're in the bubble. It will take you 45 minutes to an hour to get from one park to the other on some days. With Universal, in some instances, you have the walkability. They're close enough, but you have walkability. You do have the shuttles, and then some of the resorts have the boat that you can take. Before you added Epic in, everything was really, really close together and very easy to get around. Now adding Epic in, you kind of add that extra like layer that it's a little bit more spread out than it used to be. But overall, like, what do you think from a transportation and ease of getting around, which one wins?
I think I have to give it to Universal still.
Yeah.
I love that Disney has so many options, but sometimes too many options can be overwhelming. Like, which monorail do I get on? Am I going to go the right direction? People don't realize you have to transfer on the monorail. Same with Skyliner. You have to transfer, or my stroller's not going to work. Or so where you can say use your 2 feet or hop a bus, and they're pretty straightforward. I feel like it has to go to Universal.
I think one of the things that's a positive for Disney that we just talked about is the fact that they have all these like fantastic table service options and character dining experiences at their resorts. But a lot of times you maybe have an early reservation for like a breakfast, a character breakfast, but you have to get from your resort to that other resort. And depending on what transportation you're using, you can't do the bus from one to the other. Depending on where you are, you can sometimes use the Skyliner to get from one resort to the other if they're all Skyliner resorts. And the same if they're all monorail resorts, then you can get to another resort on the same loop. But outside of that, like you're having to either take Disney transportation, which can be stressful because it takes so long to go like do multiple steps to get to it, or you're going to pay extra and just do an Uber or a minivan.
Yeah, it's so much easier and more straightforward.
Agree. Okay, this one's going to be a good one.
Our next question is the skip the line systems. So at Disney World, we have Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, Lightning Lane Single Pass, and Premier Pass. At Universal, you have Express Pass, Express Unlimited, and then Epic has its own Express. So I guess it depends on how we rank them. Like, what are our criteria? Are we going price alone? Are we going overall? Are we going the ease of use? Because I feel like each one of those has a different answer.
I would agree with you. I was going to say the same thing. I like that Disney has multiple options for multiple budgets because at Universal, it's kind of all or nothing. But when you're paying for the all or nothing, you don't have to worry about booking one thing out of tier 1 and 2 things out of tier 2 and then continuing to book things throughout the day. You don't have to worry about that when you do any of their express passes. And then they do have the unlimited at the OG parks, and Disney doesn't have anything like that. They don't have an unlimited option. They just have the one where you get to ride everything once. I do think, though, if you're looking at it from a pricing perspective, it depends on when it is, but the Premier Pass, for the most part, I think is going to be more expensive than the Express Pass at Universal if it's for like Magic Kingdom. But sometimes it's going to be somewhat comparable for each park.
I think I've got to give the win to Universal, except for the pricing. That Disney has it a more affordable option. But like the whole idea that you can buy like a 4-day unlimited express pass if you are willing to pay the money and not have to deal with buying it every single day and not having to pre-schedule and not having to strategize, and it's just show up and use it. Hallelujah.
The other thing that's nice with Universal is you can actually buy it when you're buying your tickets, and you don't have to freaking go into an app and buy it and then do it. So, hey, Disney.
They can do it at Disneyland. They can do it at Disney World.
Well, you could do it for a while at Disney World, and then they stopped.
Good on you, Universal, for doing it this way. Just darn you for it being so expensive.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think that Universal wins this one as well.
All right, we're going to do rapid fire. So rapid fire, who does it better? Family with preschoolers.
Disney.
Family with elementary age kids.
Disney.
Families with tweens.
This is tough because with my tweens, it's Disney. But I think if I'm just trying to be objective, probably Universal.
Family with teens.
And kind of same thing. But I think if I'm being objective about it, I think Universal.
An adults only vacation.
Disney.
Foodie vacation.
Disney.
Harry Potter fans.
This is unfair, but Universal.
Multi-generational.
Disney.
Thrill seekers.
Universal.
First time Orlando visitors.
Disney.
Budget conscious family.
Disney.
Short 3-day vacation.
That's a tough one because I think it's hard to get all that done at Disney in 3 days. Probably Universal.
Week-long Orlando vacation.
Disney.
I think I agree with you on all of these.
Wow. Okay. I was like, do I need to go back and like ask you and see what?
The only one I was gonna say the short 3-day vacation. I would say Universal hands down. Like I wouldn't even think about it. But besides that, I think we are all on the same page. I guess that comes like final thoughts.
I am still gonna choose Disney World. I can't help myself. I really am emotionally tied to it. And I think I said this last time too, but I do like Universal. I love the Harry Potter part of it. I love the immersion. I love what they've tried to do with Epic Universe, that they're trying to get this, they're trying to make a better experience and giving people more options. But I just think that they need probably more of like a bubble to make it feel like it is a true like vacation, like getaway, and you're inside this bubble. And I just don't think that they've been able to do that yet. When you're at Disney World, you're in the bubble, you're away from the outside world, you're immersed in everything that they're doing. Like, even though obviously you guys heard me, I was really irritated with Hollywood Studios a few weeks ago. But even with those things that happen, I would much rather be at Disney World.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree. I have the unique perspective that I didn't grow up going to Disney World, even though I went to Disneyland a lot growing up. So both Orlando vacations are still fairly fresh. I can see them from like a first timer. I would say Disney is more complicated, but Epic has added more to the complication of Universal. So with the addition of Epic, it's made Universal a week-long vacation, which is great for some people, but the con of the pricing, but the pro of the immersion. So it's really helping them out in a lot of ways, but it's also kind of hurting them in some ways. So it'll be interesting to see what continues to happen because Disney's always updating and changing and adding new things. And I've heard rumblings and rumors that Universal has room at Epic to keep expanding. And heck, they built a brand new park. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, I, for one, am really looking forward to the new changes coming to Disney World. I think Universal is going to have to continue to do other things to keep competing with that because they have the Tropical Americas coming next year. They have Piston Peak, which I don't think they've confirmed for sure in 2027, and then Monsters Inc. So they have a lot of things. And then they also have like the Villains Land that it's a little farther off, but it's still out there in the next few years. That's a lot of very fun, exciting stuff that's coming.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We would love to hear from you on what your thoughts are because we know that we are probably a little biased, a lot biased. These are our opinions and everybody's different. And we know that there are like hardcore Universal people out there that they don't agree that Disney does things better. They like the way that Universal does things, and they don't necessarily have that emotional tie to Disney World. So we would love to hear from you. If you had the option to come to Orlando and you had to book one of these two fantastic destinations, which one would you choose? If you were given a trip and somebody said, you get to go. We're letting you come to this particular place, but you need to pick between the two. Send us a DM on Instagram at Wanderlust and Wishes Podcast. Same thing with our email. Send us an email at wanderlustandwishespodcast@gmail.com. We hope you all have a fantastic week, and we will chat with you all next week. Bye!
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wanderlust and Wishes.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform.
And remember, the world is full of wonders waiting to be explored. Until next time, happy travels.
Bye for now.